All right, we got the Flapperons, guys. We set up Flapperons. Stick around. We'll show you how we did it. Whoops, that was my hand. We also set up spoilerons. Okay. We'll show you how we did all that. If you stick around for the build series, we're gonna fly first on the 3200 6S, which is located all the way back with the leads going backward. And there's this cavity here that you can kind of stick those wires up into, because the way we had to manipulate things caused that to be a little bit further back, which is good. So we're gonna go ahead and take off. We've got kind of weird, like dead calm conditions at the surface. And then once you get up in the air, it's like a little bit windy. So we're gonna see how this does. Throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps deployed. Just double checking my controls. Oh, and then one thing too, a little bit more expo on the elevator. So we had 20, we'll go to 30. And then on the low setting, we'll go to 15. Whoops. And on the high setting, we'll go to 40. And the reason we're doing that is because we changed the hole on the elevator to the bottom. So, and cue the sun. That's the full flap. I want you to go right here next to that spot. Thank you. See if I can make this turn. I don't think I'll be able to. Oh yeah, buddy. All right, here we go. We're gonna start with takeoff flaps all the way down. Nice. Oh yeah, buddy. You notice it was kind of veering off to the side a little bit? Oh yeah, we're flying great, just like usual, which is pretty awesome. Can you stay kind of in that spot there?
Mm-hmm.
Camera crew? Okay, so we're gonna try to demonstrate the flaps here in flight, but I want to get a couple of passes in just because it's so stinking gorgeous. Okay, back to where you were. 4 steps. Thank you. Okay. Just a couple of mistakes high. Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Having to ride the elevator. Oh yeah, she slows down nicely. Out of the flaps altogether. Okay, we'll just turn it over here. Takeoff flaps there. Man, that looks good, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the flaps altogether. Full landing flaps this time. It looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Slows down quite a bit. Okay, out of the flaps altogether. Okay, we're gonna try something here. Gear coming down, takeoff flaps deployed. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. You're fine. Just don't move. There we go. Oh yeah. I'm loving the way it's flying. The wind is a little bit upset up there. It's really hard to judge because it's only up high. Okay. Gear coming down. There's my takeoff flaps. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit over on our time today. I want to see if I can, you think I can get it from here with the flaps? Whoa, that was a little scary. See, we got the elevator fighting us now. because my elevator correction's the wrong way with the Flapperons. Okay, we're gonna try this different. This weekend I was flying and I was able to stick a couple of landings. It was cool. All right, I gotta land this thing. Anybody seen an aircraft carrier around here? Sorry, old joke. Good lordy, that's going fast. We're gonna really test the limits of this pack on this flight here, guys. Okay, here we go. We're gonna come back toward us. We need a little longer rollout than usual. Now, the reason we need such a long rollout, guys, is because my elevator correction was evidently going the wrong direction. Okay? So the first thing I can do is I can go into the flap system. And I can go to -6. And then we can go to -10. Woo! That's scary, guys. Okay, so then we can go to mixing. We can go to the second mix. And we can, you know what? We're going to look at that in a minute. We'll pause it and come right back. Okay, so we've got to go into mixing. We did these 2 mixes that take the elevator correction out. Okay, so flaps, 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 flaps. So you can see the elevator correction, -6, -10. Okay. And that's only true when this setting is on. Okay, so now it's going to go like crazy. See, I just want to set that till it's about 0. Okay. And then I want to go to this one. So in this setting, okay, so that's -2. And then in this one, see the elevator is 9. So now it's 0. So there's 3. Okay, good enough. That's close enough for what we're doing. So we can play with that later. That was for the spoilerons. I never actually got around to testing the spoilerons. So what we're going to do is we are going to switch batteries to the 4,000 milliamp 50C pack, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we have the 4,000 milliamp 6S. This happens to be a 50C, and it's all the way back, as far back as I can get it. I just wanted to show you guys that. We're going to get in here and test the setup. I would like to test this on the exact same pack, but it's not practical because I've only got the one. This is what we were flying it on first. 3200 6S. This is a 30C. And then the tester. Let's show the people what we got for voltages. So we're at 30% left. So 3-minute flight time is probably just not right at all. Because I went well beyond that. Although this weekend when I was flying, I did notice that it was so windy, I was giving it so much throttle that I know I was burning through the battery a lot quicker. Tonight's just a different situation because I'm trying to test this feature. And of course this feature is the Flapperons. Just to let you guys know if it works or not. Okay, so elevator. We got a little bit of an upward correction. And we're basically going to do this. We'll pause it and get out on the runway so we don't waste a bunch of battery. All right, so we're on the takeoff setting. Timer set for 3 minutes. Oh, yeah. Out of the flaps. Out of the gear. I I know we're supposed to be testing the flaps, but this thing just looks so stinking good. Okay, so we're going back here. We're gonna go into a wide pattern. Takeoff flaps. Okay, so that's takeoff flaps. Really good slowdown. Landing flaps. It's slowing down. You know what I think it is, camera crew? It's a rudder mix. We did that rudder mix. If you guys haven't seen the setup, which you'll be seeing it just after we're done, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's just do some high alpha here. Takeoff, flaps, landing flaps. Nice slowdown, love it. Nice relaxed slowdown. Don't have to get a high angle of attack to do it either. See how nice and relaxed it is now? Still flying great. Got plenty of authority for all the control axes. Let's do a slow pass here right in front of us. Nice level-ish slow pass. Still pretty fast though, guys. Yes, we did actually remember to clear our timer for once. Okay, full landing flaps again here. You see that tail kick up? That means we could probably get away with just a little bit more correction. It does feel a little bit wonkier right now, man. That sun is just gonna be a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try a pass here. We're out of the flaps altogether. We're into spoiler setup. Takeoff spoilers. Oh, that's crazy. Landing spoilers, look at that. That's so weird. Doesn't really change anything. It's so strange. It's almost like it's still working. It's fighting a little bit harder to fix stuff right now. Almost forcing a bit of a high alpha. Maybe the spoilerons are going to be what we want on this plane. That's why we always set them up once. Okay, that's our 3-minute timer. We're not really in duress yet. Vampire killing zone. You see how that one wing breaks free? Into the power, out of the spoilers. Okay, so there we go. So there you have it, guys. It's just a little bit nerve-wracking right now. It's kind of like flying a new plane for the first time. And we have the sun screwing with us. Full speed pass. I just can't waste it. She'll still turn and burn with the best of them. Oh, yes. Okay, let's see how it responds with the full deployment of landing flaps on a downhill pass. Oh, man, that slows down way a lot. But, man, I was having trouble getting it to do what I wanted there. That was weird and a little bit freaky all at once. Okay, so check this out. Full landing flaps. I just want to see if I can get this thing to do what I want. Gear pass. Get into the throttle just a little bit. Out of the flap. Out of the gear. We're at a minute 10 past. Not that we were using it. We don't have safe as a backup. Oh, I love watching that thing go by. I want to try if I can see a little better from this side here. Stay where you are.
Okay.
Man, the visibility's crap right now for me as a pilot. It looks awesome filming it here, but the sun is really blinding. Hey, what are you doing?
I was trying to see.
Okay. Gear coming down. Stay back where you are.
Okay.
Still too fast. See how it breaks free a little bit for me on that turn? Okay, we're gonna try this. Good, the sun's just cresting over the top of the hill there. Takeoff flaps, gear coming down. Landing flaps here. I like that approach. She needs to settle down into it quite a bit though. That's part of it. As soon as you deploy those things, you guys see my problem I'm having? You get out that far and it is hard to tell the angle when the sun is at this certain spot, you know? Okay, we're gonna get into a final here. Takeoff flaps, gear coming down. Okay, we're gonna relax into the final here. Full landing flap deployment. Out of the flaps. That was a fail. Way late on the decision to abandon that. We're going the local route. Okay, so gear coming down. We're going to start bleeding off some of the speed. Trying to avoid having bugs bother me. I just got to grin and bear it. There's takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Grass it, Brian. Throttle cuts on. That was a little bit scary.
Yes.
All right, pause it while I go grab it. Okay, guys, so just to show you how awesome this landing gear is. Okay. It's wet. No problems. That's awesome. Okay, we got to get away from the skeeters. So I think what we're going to do is we'll go in and finish this video just so we can get away from the skeeters. All right, so guys, just as I was flying that thing, I can tell you a couple of different things. First of all, it felt looser. It felt a lot looser. And I am almost certain that that is just the different impacts on the ailerons from the AS3X only being responded on one side made it feel a lot looser. So that's not good because basically the response of the AS3X is about half of what you would expect on the roll axis. So it felt looser. That's not a good thing, okay? So that means probably what I'll have to do is I'll have to figure out how to reprogram this so that I can add that extra AS3X channel to the channel 6. So, but in the meantime, I'm gonna also turn this off. This mix, Aileron-Rudder, that is gonna be gone because it just makes it looser. So you don't need it, you don't want it, trust me. Sometimes on the big billowing planes that got a long wingspan and everything, you get away with that. I was just surprised. The weird thing is in the spoiler-on configuration there, this is the full spoiler-on configuration there. It's just very strange because it felt nice and settled in it, and it almost seemed like it was going to help me on the high alpha, which I didn't know how this thing was going to respond. But this plane, you can fly it in here in a high alpha configuration, and then you can just plop it on the ground. I did that this weekend, but I also had wind running straight down the runway, and so it was awesome. And it basically gives you that 5-10 mile an hour cushion so that you can come in and make some big mistakes. And the plane basically flies for free. You know, you don't even have to have any engine, no power involved at all whatsoever. It just goes. So we didn't have anything tonight. It was just dead calm. Whatever we were seeing up at the top of the treetops, I don't know if that was impacting us at all. I think what we were seeing was just the absence of that assistance from the roll on the AS3X. So at this point, you guys are probably going to jump into the setup part. The setup on the Flapperons was kind of a pain. Mostly because it was hard to get down to where the wire was. So you'll see that in the video. The good news is the way we configured it, I could actually just go straight back to this with actual, I don't know, it'd probably take me about 15 minutes total. I didn't build the female connector on the other side. from which to plug back in the Y cable, because I actually modified the Y cable in this video, and I'll show you how that goes in the video if you just keep watching. Any questions you guys have, you can ask about the flight performance. I'll be honest though, I just didn't feel like it was a huge improvement. I was wanting for more. I wanted it to be like a big improvement. And so my next thing is gonna be, see if I can figure out how to reprogram this so that the AS3X channels are live on the left and the right aileron. Because right now we only have AS3X on which one? This one? It's on this one.
Yes.
Yeah, this one stayed live, and you can tell because whatever's on channel 2. The right aileron, so this would be the right side of the plane. So that right aileron is still active on the AS3X. Now the other thing too is once we change the configuration, if we can get in there and mess with it, it's possible we may not be able to. This side, we will be able to get more deployment, and I don't know if that's gonna help more, but the thing just slips through the air so smooth. We're just trying to create drag with these flaps and you know, change the angle of attack, and it just is almost unresponsive to those flaps. So very surprising result. I figured it'd be a huge improvement, and really, if anything, the only thing that I feel like was maybe improved was the added elevator authority that we achieved, but I didn't feel like we had any extra wonkiness on the elevator either, which is nice. So, any thoughts, camera crew? I mean, obviously landing in the grass was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm just gonna have to start cutting that grass and just making it like a grass strip for jets.
It's just, they're so fast. It's not as long. It's not long
You just don't
enough.
have that much room.
No.
The problem is, like, you guys saw it yourself. When you have an abandoned landing, like I came in here and I'm basically pointing it at us, and then I'm flying in and I cross our paths, and you get into the high alpha, and you, to a certain extent, you're depending on not doing much except for with the rudder. And the AS3X is very actively helpful for that. But then the ailerons aren't then both helpful. So if you pull one direction with Flapperons down, then it can really only impact change with the other one, okay? And to be honest with you, it's only this one. So this one, if they're both locked down, there's nowhere for them to go. So it'll only fix one axis of the roll, or one direction of that axis. So you do run into a little bit of a wonkiness there.
And it's hard to see on camera how much the elevation change and curve at the end of the driveway affects everything that you're dealing with as you're coming in from that direction.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
a lot.
And there's a tree that we're kind of trying to avoid, and then there's trees that flank the driveway. In fact, we had a bunch of rain last night, so the tree kind of went. So I may just go over there and just say, bye-bye, tree. We'll transplant you to the tree heaven, because honestly, we don't need it there anyway.
Plenty of trees.
Yeah, we have like, you know, 50,000 more trees. Yeah. So I don't think that's going to be a big issue. But the thing is, when we come in here for a landing on final like that, I want to use up that real estate and then make the turn. But there again, you lose that control authority that you would otherwise have when you have a flapperon versus an inboard true flap that's going to be down and fixed and holding still and basically acting as a wing at that point, and then still having the access to the full aileron authority. You lose your aileron authority to a certain point. And the thing is, the rudder doesn't yaw and roll the plane the same way as other planes. When you get one of these rudders like this, it changes the way that the plane responds. Like on the Airbus A380, we have a rudder like this. I added the rudder, and that rudder rolls that plane. It does yaw it, but it rolls it more than it yaws it. So I have to use contrary aileron input to make that rudder on the Airbus A380 do any yaw effect. Okay, which is just crazy. It's just, you should see the mixing on it. It's ridiculous. If you've seen the video, I got like 50 videos on that Airbus A380. But on this plane, you give it rudder, and it surprisingly doesn't really roll it. It just kind of yaws the plane, which is what you want it to do. So I was hoping to cheat in that effect to help make up for the two ailerons that were being kind of, you know, used for this right now. Anyway, guys, I don't know. If you've never done flapperons, I have a lot of people ask me about flapperons, especially on planes where we don't have enough extra channels. Here's the thing. If you don't have enough channels, you need the same number of channels to add flapperons as you do to add an inboard flap. But what you don't have to do is you don't have to typically add a second servo. Like if a guy really wanted this thing to behave nicely, you could make these things into flaps and you could cut a small aileron out here, and then you could cheat and it would look the same and it would act, but you'd get a lot more leverage out here for your aileron. So like if you cut it on this panel line and you made this an aileron, and then you made this act as your flaps, then that'd be like your inboard flap. You'd have a pretty good flap action then. And then you would have this operate within the AS3X on one channel, which is still active and you could still use that. And then this would be effective. But then you add 2 servos. In that case, you'd be adding probably 2 5-gram. It'd be better to have 2 9-gram servos because you could fit it in the thickness of this wing. And it just starts getting really complicated. But my goal was to add leading edge slats at some point too. But this is a big enough control surface that you're gonna have at least 1 9-gram servo metal gear, probably 2. So all of a sudden you've added 13 grams times 2, because 9-gram Metal Gear servos are usually about 13 grams. So 13 times 2 is 26 times, you've added 50 grams, then you've added all the hardware, then you've added the hinges. It starts getting a lot heavier because you're gonna add 100 grams easily to the plane. So on a plane of this caliber, 100 grams is probably not a huge issue, but the thing is it will change. It's gonna impact the center of gravity too. So complexity is the enemy of reliability.
That was the other thing I was going to say. Flapperons are just simpler because you're not cutting in to the plane.
A separate control surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're nervous about cutting into a new plane or whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're also
it's not the same.
A lot less effective.
Yeah.
Every time I use Flapperons, I end up being, to a certain extent, disappointed. Except when it's a full length, low wing or high wing, straight plane wing. I've had very good luck. My grandpa built 2 planes actually I can think of. The SIG, what is that one downstairs that's yellow? Do you remember?
The Dornier?
No, not the Dornier. That one had an outboard aileron. It looks a little bit like the air tractor actually. Well, anyway, it's got a full length aileron, and those Flapperons work flawlessly. Very good performance. The second thing I'm thinking of is he built a biplane, which is a SIG, and the name is escaping me now, but it's a red and yellow plane. If you look through the playlist, we only flew like one time. It runs on a 5S, which is kind of strange, and that was like a heart attack on a platter to fly that thing, because my grandpa, who's now passed away, put his heart and soul into that thing, and flying it was scary. It actually flew great, except for the wheel pants, like wanted to.
That's right. Yeah.
So that thing had Flapperons, and the Flapperons did work well. So I was really happy with those. Again, that was a biplane, and it was a full-length aileron, so it was doing exactly what you wanted to do. Plus, it's a biplane, you know, it's going to fly generally pretty slow. Not necessarily. So slow is relative in airplane terms. Slow for this thing is what you were seeing. Slow for that plane would be half the speed of this at full speed with full flap deployment. So that's a lot of information to take in. If you guys are new pilots, don't try it. This thing actually flies reasonably good without the Flapperons. If you're a more experienced pilot and you want a challenge, the Flapperons are kind of cool, but I just don't think they're working the way I'd hope they would. And this is kind of what Horizon told me. So I hate it when they're right, but they may have been right. Maybe that's why they didn't put it in the first place. But maybe I can save you guys the trouble, because I'll be perfectly honest with you. I wanted them to be so much more than they are. I'm thinking once we reprogram this, we may get a better result. If we do, then that's pretty cool. But you'll also know. And by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is an option. This is the Spectrum transmitter receiver USB programming cable. Okay. So what that does for you is that allows you to plug into the bind/programming cable of the AR636A, which is right here. Let's show the people at home. Sorry, the kittens are kind of having a battle over here if you hear them. So there's your bind program plug. Okay. So you would just basically plug this in there, and then you would use this dongle to plug into, I believe it goes to your PC. And yes, that is a PC. I don't believe it's a Mac compatible device. So there was another way to do it, and I don't know what that is. I think there was like a headphone jack style as well that you could plug into your cell phone, and they had an app, and basically it used like what would normally go to your earbuds or your speaker. It intercepted that, and it made little pulses, and so it would operate doing that. instead of having this through USB universal serial bus. So I don't know, guys. All I can tell you is I'm not really excited about learning this new technology because these ones are about ready to go bye-bye, and they're going to go to the new ones with the push buttons on them. And which was that, the Air 736 or something like that? I don't know. It's in the A10, and it's also in the Night Timber X, and then it's in. I'm trying to think. There was one other one. But anyway, you've got the push button. Oh, P51. Did I say the P51 already?
No, not yet.
Yeah,
I think so. That's the first one.
So at any rate, I love the plane. It's awesome. I've been wanting this thing forever. It's glorious in the sky. It's pretty good for visibility. Tonight the skies were just letting this thing blend in, because let's give another shot of the sunset. You can see it's purple, it's red, it's burgundy, it's gray, it's, you know, baby blue, and then look at the colors of this plane.
Yep.
We've got red, we've got white, we've got blue, which is awesome for 4th of July. By the way, happy 4th of July. You're probably seeing this around that time. But it does have a tendency to blend, and there's no LEDs on it. So just keep that in mind, all decision points. But I would say this thing is definitely a good buy. It's an awesome plane. And if it's on sale, not saying it is, but it might be, check the link in the description. You can see. Buy one for yourself. Maybe don't set up Flapperons, guys, which is crazy coming from me because I'm like a big flaps guy. When we get done with this, we'll share it with you as well. That will be on a following video, and we will give you guys an opportunity to see how it performs. Again, we can always go back to what it was, which is super nice. It's really easy to do that. Like I said, just a few minutes extra time and I could have this thing back to stock, which is really nice. And I didn't have to cut anything at all, guys. So that's all you get. Next up, you'll see how we did it. Hi YouTube, Brian Phillips here. I said that I was gonna do Flapperons on this F-16 by Horizon Hobby, this E-flite product here. Can't believe it didn't come with Flapperons, but we're gonna do it right now. Yes, we were gonna be filming on our lapel mics, but they never turned on one time. So we literally got them brand new, broken. So if you don't like the audio, turn the volume on. We've got a 6S pack in here. We've got the receiver in here. As you can see, I've yanked the wires, just kind of pulled them out of here so that I could get to the aileron Y splitter, okay, or the Y cable that was plugged into channel 2 there. So you can do the same thing, just real carefully pull them out. If you're not sure what you're doing, the first time you try to figure out what channel is what, you can also look at your radio system. So in my case, we've got the VX18 set up. So power on, throttle cuts on. Just, I'm not gonna go into great depth here. You can look at this. It says aileron on channel 2. Okay, you move it and you can see it move. So that's pretty simple. And then as you can see, there's safe is on auxiliary 1 and then auxiliary 2. Okay, so we have nothing assigned on auxiliary 2. So you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 is, where is 7, right? Do you see 7 on there? I don't see 7 on there. See, there's 6. So what we may have to do is we may have to take safe off so that we can take advantage of that channel. But for now, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to basically try to get it wired in, okay? So the first thing you got to do is you got to get the wire, the Y splitter cable out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look and just verify where the leads go. As you can see, we've kind of got one that goes to the right and one that goes to the left. It's very obviously going to be going to each wing. So I prepped a little bit of this in the video. I got the beanbag and all this stuff ready, and then I just decided I would take the screws out. So I use this, what appears to be a 2mm Allen wrench to pull out 2 screws, which look just like this, guys. They're right here and here, okay? Once you get those 2 out, you should be able to slide the wing back out from when you did the assembly. Okay, you see that? There's your connector. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the wing so that I can safely do this. There's these releases like that, and then it's going to let you unplug the wire. Okay, so just unplug that. Let's just take this wing off. It'll make it easy to get at what we need to get at. So with a Y cable, the servos are going to share a control channel, and they're going to work opposite one another. In this configuration, they're both going to consume their own channel, and they'll be able to move independent of each other, which means that your normal action for ailerons, which is going to be opposite, can be negated. You can bring them both down. That's called flapperons. Then they keep acting as ailerons. You can also bring them up, which is called spoilerons, and they'll keep acting as ailerons as well. So upward means you spoil lift, downward means you build lift. You change the shape of the wing to create more drag and more lift. You can counter both with elevator. So you need to be prepared to do that. Now this is an inboard to midboard aileron, okay? So on an outboard aileron, my experience is that flapperons don't work well. On an inboard aileron, they do work pretty good as flaps, okay? So ideally, this would go almost all the way out, but on the real deal, I think it's about this size, but they also have leading edge slats, so I'm not sure if we're gonna do that. They might be called a leading edge flap on these. They might be called a droop. I don't know what they call them on the F-16. But either way, I know that they exist on all the real ones. So maybe someday we'll add that. I'm not sure if we care. Depends on if this gets the job done. So now that we have that released, what we wanna do is we wanna figure out which wing is which, okay? So obviously this cord is going through and it's following a channel down there, right? Okay, so as I pull, nothing's happening, right? So I'm pulling pretty hard and it's like glued in there. So that's always not a good sign. The good news is you don't have to actually use this cable, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab into my bag of a million cables and I'm just gonna look for an extension cord that's gonna be like a male to female, just a standard, not a Y splitter, not anything special like that. These are like male to male. And we're gonna find one that's just an extension cord basically that goes male to female. Those look like Y cables. This is the sort of thing you get when you first get into the hobby and you just need a million cables to do everything. And especially when you're doing plug-and fly planes, it looks like these ones are just, this happens to be the Hextronic style, so it's brown, red, and brown, red, and orange. And if it was I forget what the other style is. I'm drawing a blank, I'm sorry. If it was the other brand, then it would be white, black, and red. But they do the same thing, okay? So this just happens to be the same color code, so that's fine. Signal is gonna be your lightest color, and then your ground is your darkest, and then your power is your middle, okay? So that's not really relevant to the flapperons. So now if I look into this hole, guys, you can see that there is, you see that, camera crew? There's a little bit of tape, and then some schmutz and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that schmutz is. I don't know if it's extra lead or if it's just, you know, like this Y cable goes to another extension cord. I'm not sure. We're gonna very carefully try to pull on this. There's some tape. See the tape, guys? It doesn't want to come out of there, so that's okay. I'm just gonna very carefully try to get this out. Oh, so that's probably a retract cable, guys, I'm guessing. Because as you can see, we've got some paint on it. And it's going to a different point, okay? So when you're done with this whole process, you always wanna make sure everything is working, okay, before you get it all put back together. So you can hook this up without actually putting it together. That's what I mean by that. So when I tug on this wire, I don't really feel it passing through, which is usually not a good sign. So it looks like even if I pulled really hard, it wouldn't go. So I have to figure out a way to route this cable through the airplane. So there's 10 million ways to do this, but in this case, the easiest way to do it might actually be to take and cut the cable that's already there and just build an end onto it, which is one very easy way to do it. So I'm wondering if that'd be the easiest way to do it, because instead of having to route the cable and split this open, because these are glued in two halves, evidently, on this plane, because you can see where the molding is, okay? So if it's glued in two halves, it is gonna be a nightmare to get that wire through. And you can see right here, if you look underneath, you can kind of follow the clues. See, there's the bundle of wires that goes down, and then it goes back to the retract. So that is your retract plug. My guess is it's gonna be a real bear cat to get that out. So my next step is gonna be to cut this, and then I'm gonna build an end on, and we'll show you how to do that right away. Okay, so I have this little kit set up. Actually, this kit came from a friend. This is a little crimp tool that's used to crimp the ends on these wires. If you don't have the crimp tool, it's fine. All you really have to do is just cut the wires and just solder together another end if you don't have this tool. So it's not a big deal. Then just run-of-the-mill strippers. These happen to be pretty small. So let's show them from the other side again. We're just gonna verify we're going to the wing we think we're going to. Obviously with the plane de-energized, cut it. Now we're gonna separate these leads real easy. And what I wanna do is I wanna build a male and a female, okay? And you're like, well, why are you building a male and a female, Brian? Because that way I can hook it back together if I decide to go back to the stock configuration. And you're like, but you're not gonna do that, Brian. That's totally true, I'm not. So I'll probably just for the sake of this video build this one. That's good, Brian. Thank you. So now, in order to finish this, we have to basically, this is the one end of this now, okay? So that's gonna get us to one side and the other one's gonna go to the other. It doesn't matter which one's which, guys. You can flip the channel, it doesn't matter. Believe me, it doesn't matter. If it matters, you just need to change your radio setup. So in order to do this, I've got some goodies in here. Looks like there's a bunch of cables in here. Obviously, I need to build an end similar to this. Oh, that's a little, so we need to build an end similar to this. And usually what I do is I will just double confirm what I'm building is going to be the same in terms of the order of the pins, okay? Because it is a little bit challenging to remember what's what. So then it looks like we've got some crimp style ends. So we'll crimp those on. Okay, which is good. The male and the female style are kind of counterintuitive because I would call this a male connector, but it is actually technically a female connector because there's sockets in each of these sockets. And then on this, even though it's a socket, the case is the case, but then in there's pins, so that would technically be a male, okay? Are you confused yet? Mm-hmm. Just saying, it can be confusing out there. You always gotta make sure you get the right pronoun. So, we're gonna strip this back. Oops. And these strippers are so small. Look at that, they're stinky, dinky. I've never used these strippers in my life before, so it's a little bit of a new thing. Which is kind of
always good to do on camera.
Yeah, I always use new tools for the first time on camera. Mm-hmm. Because I just really like to punish myself like that.
Extra fun.
Yeah. So, now obviously what's going to happen is these things are going to be just the same as what we have here, okay? So these things are a real pain in the neck. I kind of hate building them, but I do it out of, necessity. When I need to do it, I do it. When I don't need to do it, I figure out a better way to do it, as in an easier way. But it's going to be a little bit challenging to film because this is a crimper and I've had limited success with them because basically you have to, I need you on my other side. You have to basically feed these in. You see how there's like a deep pocket and a shallow pocket? Stay there. See how there's a deep pocket and a shallow pocket? This is like the shallow and then this is the deep, okay? So it stops like halfway and then it goes through. See how it stops and then it goes through? Stop, it's fine. So what we have to do is we have to actually pinch this down in here like that. And then what that's going to do is that's going to leave a relief for the wire to actually be inside of this thing, okay? And it doesn't matter how you orient it on here because you're going to build the connector once you get this all done. So some people cheat and they will take the crimpers and they'll kind of start this and kind of fold it on there a little bit. I sometimes do it, sometimes I don't. But like I said, it's challenging to get them started. And so when you drop them on the ground, it's really awesome because they don't hurt at all to step on. Okay, we're gonna pause it. So basically, I'm gonna stick that in there with the fingers going up, and then I'm just gonna work this in. I actually have it backward, but that's gonna get it started, okay? Once it's started, like this, it makes it a lot easier. And see, this is ratcheting. There's also a release here. So if you want to release it, you can. I have one of these tools. I just don't know where it is. Oh. This is the one that Tom gave me because he wasn't using it anymore. So thanks, Tom, if you're watching. I doubt you are, but that's okay. So I'm going to hold that there. Ah, dang it. See, it slipped. So once you got it held in there, then you can actually lay it down. Then you can get your wires prepped. I've honestly probably only built like 6 or 7 of these, which is a little bit embarrassing because you would think that I built millions of them, but no, I haven't. So then you can kind of slide that in there. The cable sheath actually gets bit back here. Then the wire gets bit up here. But you'll notice that we don't have contact yet. That's because there's 2 stages to this usually. I usually crimp the first one, then I crimp the second one. This is one's bigger and one's smaller, okay? Mm-hmm. So I think really you're just supposed to use the right size, but I didn't. Okay, so now that's crimped. Now look what that does. That hangs onto the wire, relieves the pressure. That's called a strain relief. And then this hangs onto the actual copper, okay? So then that makes your contact. Okay, so now we just need to do that 2 more times. Since it's so amazing to watch, we're probably going to pause it while I do the other 2. Okay, so we got 3 wires built here. So now I just have to make my connector. Okay, so these are little springs. I'll point at them. These are little teeth that hang on to the clip, okay? Now that looks familiar to most of you that are used to doing this stuff, okay? There's like a keyed side on here and here, and then it's flat on the top. So it doesn't matter, it's a universal thing. So what you wanna do is typically just get the opening facing the same direction. And what you wanna do is there's a catchment piece that goes up on the top of each of these, okay? So when you slide these pins in, just do it in the order they go. So first of all, we're gonna grab the yellow, okay, just so it's easy. And you see how on this, there is kind of that catchment piece is right there, okay? So how can you tell it's a catchment piece? I'll show you right now. You slide it in the hole, get deep penetration, and a click, and it doesn't come out, okay? Do you wanna give them like an extreme close-up of that? You guys see how that's in there now? See how there's like a little tooth that hangs onto it, a plastic tooth? So now we can just replicate that. Keep the extreme close-up, please. I'm gonna try to work around it because I want the people to see what I'm doing here. This is complicated. When you don't know what you're doing on this, it makes it really hard. And I've done this enough times. See, I'm trying to make it quiet so they can hear the click. See, I didn't hear the click. I didn't get good enough penetration. There it is. Did you hear the click, camera crew?
Yep.
Okay, so now that won't pull out easily. Then same thing here. See how that's the one side, and then this is not the right side. That's obviously the side, and that's the side. So you want the top or the bottom. Okay, so when this goes in, nice and quiet. Get in there. There it is. Okay, so you always double, triple check this. Okay, so they're all in there, which is awesome. Okay, so now these look the same in terms of the order. So now the reason we did all that crap was to actually get this wire hooked up. So technically, if you knew you were doing that, you could just literally cut this and not worry about taking the wing off. But for the sake of argument, we're gonna have the wing off so that it's nice and easy for you guys to see how that process works and why we decided to do it that way. Now your model may not have the same problem that my model had in that maybe they got some glue between those pieces. Okay, so brown is up. See this, guys? Brown is up. I'm gonna slide this into this right here. So it's snapped. Now verify brown is up and yellow is down, or orange in this case. So now I'm just going to feed this back in as I bring the wing toward the fuse and just kind of grab the label and control and manipulate that as it comes in. And this wire is really kind of being a pain because there's a slit on the bottom and it's wanting to pop out the whole time. That's why I'm fighting it so much, guys. Not really a big deal. It's just kind of a little minor inconvenience. Okay, so now that we have that back together, let's go ahead and screw the wing in, and the wing is going to then be fully assembled. At this point, we can test our wire with a servo tester, but I'd rather just hook it up and be done with it. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, so that's like a Toyga. Remember, this is the 2mm. It's whatever you use for the build. It's not really rocket science here at this point. If you're taking this plane apart to this level, you probably already know what you're using. I don't really care if you use a standard one that fits, but I just happened to grab a 2mm. It seemed to fit good, so I didn't even worry if it was standard or metric. I just threw it in there. All right, so now that this is down, we've got this to deal with. Now, there's a million different ways you can skin this cat, guys. Don't skin cats. They don't like it, from what I hear. I'm gonna pull this wire back. I'm gonna do it the very, very easy way. Then I'm gonna pull this wire back, and then I'm gonna fold this wire back. And you see how I've got them just at different lengths? That's all I'm gonna do because it's very easy and effective. And we are gonna use, for the sake of the video, a piece of clear tape. And also for the sake of I'm too lazy to go get some electrical tape. But you see there's no chance or risk of these touching one another and therefore shorting out the receiver and or the aileron servo. Okay, see how that looks now? Man, that thing makes a really bad backdrop. Sorry, folks. I didn't plan that out on purpose. I did it just to annoy you. All right, so now camera crew is going to come around the other side so she can actually see what's going on. I'm going to tuck this down in there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to plop this. This being the plug that we just rebuilt, rather. We're going to plug that in with the signal up to channel 6, okay? Channel 6 is going to be a real bear cat to get in because there's other crap around it, so I'm going to use some bent tip forceps. This is just like those surgery shows, except we don't have to blur anything out because there's no private parts. It's kind of not very fun.
Forceps just...
So, I'm going to try to get this angle, and it's not going to work well. Okay, I'm going to try to hold on to the back. See how I clipped it? Can you see it in the video? See, I clipped it. You don't need to have an extreme close-up for this, camera crew.
Okay.
So you see the angle I'm trying to get? It's very challenging to do this, so I'm just trying to show them the tips and tricks that I use every day to make this work. And when I say work, I mean barely work and just barely enough that I don't go insane and throw something. So the forceps are going to hold that, and I'm going to probably try to block you with my head as I push it in the hole. I'm going to let go with the forceps, take over with my fingertip, see if I can get it to go in there. Ow, that connector is sharp. Holy goodness gracious. Oh, she's in there. See, it's in. It's in. Yay, it's in channel 6. Okay, so channel 6 is plugged in. See, channel 6. Channel 6 is plugged in. See, here it is. Okay, so now channel 2 is not. So because channel 2 is not, I need to plug this back in. So again, Horizon did not do this for you. But to be honest with you, in order to get to this stage, you have to buy the plane. So I think Horizon's thinking might have been, well, if they really care, then they'll do it. Horizon, shame on you for that. making me do it. Okay, anyway, so that's all stuffed in there. So now we can just ram this back in the hole. But I just want to be thoughtful that there is a bind plug and a programming plug here. You guys see that bind/programming plug? That'd be like on channel 0 if there was such a thing. Channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 0. I'm just gonna ram this stuff back in the hole here because that's where it came from and that's where it's going. I'm just gonna do it in gentle sort of way, firm but gentle. It's like dealing with animals. Firm but gentle. Or firm minus gentle, depending on what type of animal it is. It's like a horse. A horse could, you know, step on you and kill you. A kitty, you have to be gentle. Until they claw you, like they're trying to murder you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's all in there. And the reason that you're firm but gentle is because you can unplug those cables. And I fear that I may have done it. I probably didn't, but I fear I might have. That's probably about the way it looked from the factory, which is a little bit embarrassing, but it is what it is. Okay?
Not a very big hole.
I mean, if you try to ram a lot of little things into one big hole all at once,
Doesn't always work for you.
it gets really hairy. I mean, sometimes it's not even hairy.
I was going to say what it's going with, but.
So, now that that's all in, now we can fire this up. I have my radio system here. Obviously, we're going to pause it and clean all this crap up. Okay, so we cleaned up. I feel better. Now I have my radio on, okay? This thing has safe currently on. You can stay where you were.
Okay.
I'm just gonna plug this in, okay? So because it has safe, I wanna kind of bring it to level, condition, and attitude when I start it. So you notice it's going through a dance. And you'll notice that this aileron is in a different condition. Show the people at home, please. See this? That's safe turning on and off. See? Okay? But it doesn't respond as an aileron. Oh no! So, now, here's the options. Here's your real options. First of all, we can bind it without safe. Okay? That's probably the easiest option. Okay? The second option is to tear out this receiver and do all sorts of crazy things. The third option would be to like try to reprogram it, which I don't know that I can do that necessarily, and I don't want to waste my time on it. So what we're probably going to do is we're just going to turn off safe because I'm not using it anyway, and I would much rather have Flapperons. So the other thing is this AR636B is only evidently 6 channels, which is really weird because I could have sworn that there was 8 channels on it, and they claim it's 6. But I'm pretty sure there's a way to plug into the bind plug and use another channel, but don't hold me to it, guys. We could try it, but that was not very fun to plug into. That would be a lot easier.
Well.
Will it blow up?
Might.
My camera crew is concerned.
Probably.
My camera crew is concerned it's going to blow up. I'm only moderately concerned it's going to catch on fire in our living room, on top of this bean bag that's covered by a beautiful rug.
It's a blanket.
Oh, sorry. Blanket, rug. What's the difference?
What's the difference?
I'm actually going to plug this into the bind plug just to see what happens. Horizon, if you're watching,
Close your eyes.
close your eyes.
Turn away.
We're not cheating.
What are you plugging into the bind plug?
I'm sticking it in the hole.
Which one?
Oh, the one for this side.
Oh, okay.
Just because I want to control it by a different channel. And I know that there's a way to control it. And they just don't want us to know that there's a control channel involved. So, first things first, we got to make sure it doesn't go into bind mode when we power up, okay? So throttle cuts on. Because if it goes into bind mode, then I don't want to waste my time figuring it out, okay? So we start it up. Now we're looking for flashy flashes. Do you see flashy lights?
No.
Okay, so it's solid. Wait for the boot. Okay, so everything is working, except for the retracts. I'll test that in a minute. Throttle's working. Okay, so everything's working. So now, so it's not moving with safe, which is kind of cool. See, that's auxiliary 1. So what's auxiliary 2? So there's auxiliary 2. Dang it. Let's see if it's not assigned maybe. Let's go to system setup. Are you sure you want to disable RF? Yes, and the RF link shut off. Okay, so let's go to channel assign. So this would be auxiliary 2. So what's auxiliary 2? It's tied to E. Okay. So it may already be assigned to something. internally. Or you just can't plug into that bind port. Okay, fine, whatever. Horizon, you win this bout. Now I'm gonna unplug and go back over to channel 6. Guys, this is how you figure things out. So when you send me a message and you say, hey Brian, can you like photocopy a manual and put it as a PDF? No, no guys, no, really? Sorry, no. But if you need help with this sort of thing, watch the video first, please. I had somebody today asking me questions, repeatedly, questions that I answered like 100 times on other videos and the video that he was talking about. That was a little annoying. Okay, channel assign. We're gonna go into channel assign. We're just gonna verify everything is in. aux1 is 1, aux2 is 2, aux3 is 3. Okay, so we're safe there. I'm gonna go to next. Okay, so it looks like gear is A. Okay, so we definitely use gear on this plane. Auxiliary 1 is D, so that's what we're assigned for safe, okay? Auxiliary 2 is E, which is over here. So obviously at this point we can't use E because we have no way to tap into it. We might be able to reprogram this, but I don't know. Okay, going back in, RF's gonna kick, you'll see it dance. See this how there's no light on? Takes a second. See, there it goes. Okay, so the dances are done twice. That means that we're in safe, okay? So now what we have to do is we have to actually rebind this so we can eliminate safe so that we can tie these to be Flapperons. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Okay, so I have this bind plug here. Plugging these bind plugs in can be a real pain in the neck. Let's look at this real close. Okay, so you see how there's kind of that octagonal face to it? There's kind of like this here, then it's flat. Then it's got an octagonal edge, and then it's flat, then it's flat, then it's flat, then it's an octagonal edge. What we're trying to do is we're trying to line that up so that it can slide in. If you don't line it up the right way, it'll go, but it's extremely hard to get it in there. So what we need to do is we need to shut off the transmitter and shut off the airplane. Okay, I probably should unplug the plane first. It's always better as a rule of thumb to keep the plane in a safe attitude. Now, the first thing we have to do before we get this set up is we're gonna go ahead and set up the Flapperons, and that way when we do our fail-safe setup, the fail-safe setup will get this all in the right condition, because you don't want this to go into fail-safe if you have a radio disconnect and then have this aileron go up, because then you're gonna roll and you're gonna lose your plane for sure, 100% guaranteed, okay? Okay, so obviously we have servo setup, we have reverse. We did reverse auxiliary 1, so why don't we just go ahead and make sure we unreverse that, okay? That's just for good measure. Then I want to go to system setup. Here, let's see if we can, let's just flop down here for a second. You might go with a better angle then. Can you see it better there? So then I'll scroll down to aircraft type, and I'll go from normal to dual aileron to Flapperon, okay? That's going to bring up in our regular menu in the function list, okay, that's what comes up when you first click. That's going to bring up the flap system, okay, so you can uninhibit that. I'm going to assign it to this switch, which is switch B. And we'll just kind of like leave it there for now, okay? Then we need to go to system setup again. Channel assign. Okay, so you remember, oh, look, it already assigned it left aileron, okay? So the right aileron, that's exactly the way we did it. That was dumb luck, guys. I didn't know that's the way it was gonna be. But this happens to be the one that was still attached to the Y cable, and that happens to be the left one. So it's just, we just got lucky. It would. What?
So if it wasn't that way, you could just flip them,
Yeah,
right?
You can reassign them here if you have one of the programmable radios. This is DX18, the DX8, DX9. I think even the DX6 can. Now, if you can't do the channel assign, like on some of the older Gen 1 units, like the DX8 Gen 1, you would have to go in and set up a mix that was 100% contrary to what your output was. Then set up another mix to make 100% the same direction. So basically, when you would move your aileron stick, it would do the opposite, but then you would move your stick and it would do the opposite again. So it counters the input and then it does the opposite input. It's awkward. You don't want to have to do that. I did that for the Airbus A330 on my DX8, and it was horrendously difficult because I had a receiver mounted vertical instead of flat. And so I had to change one of the axis up controls. Anyway, it's complicated. So I don't want to go into that here. It's just going to confuse people that are trying to figure this relatively simple thing out. So, okay, so, and I'm taking this. I hate that little plastic thing. And it's so beautiful with it off. Look at that. So we're obviously plugged in there. We've got our assignments right. I'm just not even going to set any of the flap setup yet. We'll do that after we get started here. So you can also go over to monitor mode. Look at that thing. It just loves me. It wants to stay on me. When I move the ailerons, you can see they're both changing condition as I move the stick. Okay? So that's okay. If they move the same direction, we'll resolve that. No big deal. So now we need to do the bind. We got the bind plug ready. We have the radio off. We're prepared to bind. The binding procedure is different when you bind without safe. Do you happen to remember what that is? Dang it. Camera crew wasn't paying attention that day.
Is that?
I think you plug it in and you leave it bind plug in. When you're doing the binding with safe, you take the bind plug out prematurely.
Okay, then that would be, it's the opposite.
You pull out early if you want safe. It means you
well, that makes sense.
You just withdraw early and you're safer.
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 Is the key word.
Is the key.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when do I pull it out?
Before.
No.
Before the exciting
Before
parts.
you're done.
Before you're done.
That's not fun at all.
Well,
okay, so look at the flashy lights, guys. This is so exciting. Look at this. Look at this. I'm still not pulled out. I still have deep penetration here. Okay? Holding and away slightly for radio signal reasons. DX18 binding. There's the flashy light. It has slowed down. DSMX 22 milliseconds and telemetry has bound. Now we can go ahead and yank it right out. Listen. One time. That means you're out of sync. Okay, so.
Now you can pull out.
May have been exaggerating about the pulling out. Okay, now I can pull out the bind plug. Oh, it's awkward. I can barely reach it. There it is. Got it. Look at that. That's ridiculous. I think about broke it there. So now, I always do this as a safety measure. Okay, unplug it. Now that you're done binding, look for the double dance if you have safe on. Look for the single dance if you have safe off. Radio off, go through a full radio system shutdown. Turn on your radio as you would normally, throttle cut, throttle stick. Verify your gear switch is in the correct position. Verizon is good about having an interrupt for the startup so that if you have it in the wrong condition, it's not going to change the state until you toggle it, okay? That's important for those of you that store with gear up in transit. Okay, now we're going to start. Notice this is flat. Okay? Now, first things first. Elevator, rudder, and you can hear the steerable nose here. Okay, can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Aileron, that's not going to work so good. So now let's go to flaps. Let's just go flap system. Oh, whoops. Flapperons are weird because you got to go like minus and plus. See what's happening? See what's happening? Not so good. Okay, flaps. Okay, so we have it wrong, obviously. Okay, no big deal. So we're gonna go into servo setup. You know how we like unreverse that servo? Mm-hmm. I think we're gonna
just lift it?
I guess. Okay, so now standing from behind the plane, it's much easier for people to get their reference point.
You need to come back there?
Yeah. Okay, so now if I go to flaps, the negative was backward. I could actually just run. I'm going to show you what I do. And you guys can do whatever you want. It's your own plane. You don't have to set up flapperons, but flapperons are awesome. And if you don't do it, you're probably dumb. I'm just kidding, guys. I really don't care if you do it. You guys are probably thinking I'm dumb for doing this. See? Flapperons, fly mode. So probably what I'll do is I'll have flapperons and spoilerons. And what I'll do is I'll have a switch like C to indicate whether or not I want them to act as flapperons or act as spoilerons. For now, we're going to make them act as flaps, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually set this to neutral, whoops, and then minus, let's say, minus 30. Oh, yeah, buddy. And then we're going to set this to speed normal. We're going to set it to like 2 seconds, okay? Look at this. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. Can they see both? Mm-hmm. Give them a view of both, okay? Oh, that is so gorgeous. Okay, so aileron, roll, aileron, roll, flaps, ailerons, ailerons, landing flaps, aileron, aileron. Okay, now another thing too, when you deploy flaperons or flaps in general, there is a change in general aircraft behavior that you will find, and that is usually on an inboard flap. And I've explained this so many times on messages, and it's really kind of hard to explain because it's super wordy. Weird.
Really?
So, when you deploy flaps, okay, what happens to the shape of the wing? It changes. So now it's shaped like this, which is supposed to change the pitch attitude of the plane down. That helps the pilot to be able to physically see the runway better and slow down as they come forward, also reducing the stall speed where the air separates and creates a stall where the plane falls, okay? So, on an outboard aileron, on an inboard aileron, you typically want a little bit of elevator correction. The elevator would need, I'm gonna exaggerate this, it would need to be pointed down somewhat, which is weird, I know, but it's just the way it goes, okay? On a flaperon configuration, you almost always have to pull up on the elevator, okay? Which is weird, because normally you balloon when you have flaps, okay? But with flaperons, many times you don't balloon, so you have to do an opposite configuration. You'll still slow the plane down, but you produce a different factor of lift. I have never figured out exactly if this is totally true, but on inboard flaps, you almost always treat them like regular flaps. On outboard flaperons, you treat them like opposite, which is weird, okay? Just a thought. So when you're doing your elevator correction, okay, keep in mind when you make a correction here, you're going to lose that throw on your elevator, okay? So let's say we make a 5% down correction. I'm gonna do a lot so I can see what direction it's going. See that? See how it's moving, guys? So when I deploy my flaps, you see how they go down at the same time? That is going to counter the balloon that's expected, okay? But Brian, you just said that it changed the attitude of the plane down. No, you can do that and still slow down, okay? It doesn't happen by in and of itself. It's gonna balloon. Just trust me on this. I know, it's a training session time. So now, I'm gonna set this back to, let's do 10 and let's do 5, okay? Now let's do 6 and 10, okay? Now, also the elevator correction is going to deploy at the same speed as the flap. So if you have a 2-second deployment, that means 2 seconds from -100 all the way to +100, okay? We're only deploying from 0 to 30 or 0 to 100, but it's always tabulated from here to here. So if you're only going 30, okay, compared to 200, then that's gonna be a certain percentage of that, so that time factor can be calculated, okay? So if you're going to -100, it's gonna take 1 second. See, watch. 1 Mississippi. 1 Mississippi. Okay, if it was going all the way, it would have been 2 seconds. So don't be confused by that. It doesn't have anything to do with each step. It has to do with the complete throw from top to bottom. Even if you overdrive this servo to like 125%, which I don't believe a lot of the E-flite ones you can't overdrive, but some of the E-max ones you can do that too. You can go like 125 or 125. Sometimes it will take longer because it's carrying a longer path. Sometimes it goes the same speed. Just depends on what type of servo. All right, enough details for today. Everything is functioning. Now, here's the big thing. I want to also be able to run spoilerons. Okay, so this is where it gets really hairy. So in order to do this, I'm going to make a mix. Okay, so we're just going to do normal. I'm going to go, this is going to be flap to flap. I think it's going to be flap to flap. Flap to flap. Oh man, it's gonna make me do left, right. Oh, there we go. Okay, so rate is gonna be, I don't know what direction I'm going yet. I just always throw something in there so I can see what the change looks like. Okay. So we'll see some change here. That's big enough. I want the switch to be relative to switch position C. It's going to be off on 0, on 1, and then off on 2. Okay. Whoops. So now I can go over here and I can make it so that it's, you know, on the bottom, off, and then off. Okay. Something like that. Whatever. Okay. So the spoilers are going to be in this configuration. This will be normal. This will be normal. So just so you know, time for a little breakaway. Every time you set up a radio, set it up as similar as you can so that you get used to it and get the switches that you need where you can reach them. Some people try to use D. If you're pincer grip, D is okay. If you're a regular grip like this, I can't reach D. So anyway, so I'm gonna put it on C because I can get to C easier. Okay, still takes time. I don't like doing that. So we'll test this in the flight. So now what's gonna happen is when I deploy flaps, you can see how they go down. See how that changed? Look at that. See how they went down further? Mm-hmm. Okay, so evidently you can overdrive these servos, which is nice.
Only on
the one side. Okay, you wanna know why? Camera crew? This is flap. That is left aileron or right aileron. You understand?
Sure.
So in order to change that condition, you would have to actually tie this to left aileron on 1 instead of flap. Are you showing the people? So left aileron. Is that the left? It is. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's set this to 100. Actually, we want it minus anyway, because I want it to act opposite. Okay, so we'll go like minus 100. And I don't even know if I care about that setting. Okay, I do care about that setting. See how it's moving? Look, show the people at home. See how it's moving? Mm-hmm. So it's really on this side that I'm concerned about. See how it went back? I didn't really mean to do that. Sorry. It's as fast as I can scroll. Okay, click. See how they're going up? Mm-hmm. Weird, huh? Now you'll notice the correction is the same. So on this plane, it might, if I truly do intend to do it this way, so I can actually get rid of that setting because it does nothing. See how I went to left aileron and it does both? Isn't that cool? So there's your 30. Now why is that, camera crew? Because that's 25% more than minus 100. So 25% of 30 is that. Then 25% of 100 is that in the up sweep. Okay? Now the reason that is because you're minus 100 and then you're minus 125. So you might be able to get on the offset here. See how they're moving? See how they're moving? See how they're going up? Ooh. See how one's going up further than the other? Mm-hmm. That's goofy. Wonder why that is. Huh. Okay, so evidently we signal out on one side and we don't on the other. So I'm just gonna leave it at the minus 125 and I'll show you the correct solution. I'm gonna go back over to flaps. Okay? See how they're going up? See how they're going back down? Great, everybody's happy. So now we're gonna go make another mix. Okay? So normal, remember how I was talking about earlier how you had to like counter it and then you had to counter it again? That's what we're doing now. So we're jumping back into another flap. Okay? The rate on this side is just going to be more negative, okay? Oops. So this is going to give us our full 100, and we'll just make it super simple. So we'll just tie this to switch C again. Okay. Now watch this. Now we can jump back in here, and we'll just set this to minus 100 instead of minus 125. Now watch what happens. Flaps, flaps. Everything's fine, everything's hunky-dory, it's just as expected. But then, there you go, up they are. See that? See that? Isn't that cool? Is that going all the way up?
Mm-hmm, that looks the same.
Yeah, but look at it at the end of the throw. See how it steps at the end? Look at that. Mm-hmm. Look at that. Goes up and then it goes. See, that's not a big deal when you're sitting on your counter in the kitchen at 0 miles an hour. But at 100 miles an hour, it might be a big deal. So now, there's another thing we get to do. Yay! Okay. So now that we have that set, basically when we have this switch C all the way down, we have spoilerons. Cool. All right. There might be an easier way to do that, by the way, but this is the hard way we're doing it.
It's my favorite.
So now we need to go, ooh, this one's gonna be more complicated. Because what I need to do is I need to set it to flaps, okay? Because flaps is gonna be my control side, and then the output is gonna be elevator, okay? So there's flap, and there's elevator, okay? So I'm gonna just go to regular mode, okay? So flaps come down more, and you have an elevator correction down, and you have an elevator correction down furthermore, okay? Now this is going to be done at the same deployment speed as the flaps, which is good because if we get it right, it's just going to keep going in a straight path and slow down, which looks really cool. If we get it wrong, it's going to balloon. If we get it really wrong, it's going to go like a million pieces, okay? I'm thinking somewhere between perfect and is what it's going to do. Okay, I don't think it's going to balloon that much, but it might. That's okay. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to undermine this impact, that elevator correction. Because as you know, it's happening under flap system. There's your flap correction of 6% and 10%. I can't flip that when I switch my switch C, right? Or can I? No, I've got it assigned to B already. So I can't make it flip inside of that menu. So in that case, I have to go over here, and flap impacts elevator by a rate of 6% or minus 6% or something like that. Okay, so we'll just try this. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna exaggerate the impact so we can see it. Okay, so we'll just put like 50% in there, okay? Flaps deploy. I want this to be set to this condition only. So only when we have spoilerons configured, okay? We haven't made any impact on that because that's not 50% change, okay? So this is how you can figure out where your changes are happening. See how it's going up now? See that? Look at that, okay? So obviously this side is not of any impact in the positive, but it might be on the negative. Nope, it's on this side. Okay. So clear that. I don't know if it needs to be minus 6 or plus 6. So there's down. There's down. So it went down further. So let's see if we can change that to, yep, see it's going down as we go negative. So I'm gonna go plus 6. So you see, watch, there should be almost no change. See, no change from the second step, okay? So our first step is gonna need to be 6 on this. Then we have to make yet another mix. Are you excited yet, hun?
I'm thrilled.
Okay, so let's go back to flaps. Where are flaps? There you are, and then elevator. Now let's get the other 4%. We're gonna tie it to switch C in the top setting, or in this case, the bottom setting, that setting. Now watch what happens. Watch when I deploy flaps. Cool, right? Very little change. Now, you're noticing that it's moving, okay? And I am too, and you will at 100 miles an hour notice this change, okay? But it's gonna be very subtle. And I wanna show you why we can't fix that. Because we have a flap deployment delay. So it's gonna take 2 seconds for that to happen, but the mix is fast acting. And the only way for me to change the mix deployment speed is to go into the actual elevator speed, and I don't wanna slow down the elevator the rest of the time. You follow? Mm. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is go to monitor mode, and I'm gonna watch one other thing. So you see this monitor? It shows 0% for elevator, and as I move, it changes the number. So just concentrate on this number up here. Can you see it on camera? So watch, we're in our flapperons into the spoilerons. First setting, second setting. You see this little subtle change? So in the first setting, we have 3, and then in the second setting, we have 0. So that tells me that we need to just go into the mixing and probably just modify this third mix. So instead of being 6, I don't know why, but I'm gonna do 10. Look at that, doesn't even change. And it goes up a little bit. Which is weird. Why would it be like that? Maybe we've already got the correction in there good enough. Maybe we don't need that second one. See? It doesn't really change. That's weird. Okay, so back to monitor. Whoops. Back to monitor mode. So now watching the elevator right there. Flap deployment. So that's normal flight mode. That's flaps for spoiler ons. And then there's your full spoiler ons. So there's a 3% correction in there. That's so weird. Because we had 6 and 10, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing here, because this is 10. And that looks pretty darn awesome. I mean, technically it should be 6. Because it's 6, and then this one would be 4% more. Looks pretty good. Maybe that's it. And we just have that latency from the delay. There's your monitor. So watching there. What the heck? Okay, so let's try that. The flap system. Whoops. Mixing. We're going to go to the third one. You can see it right there too, guys. The elevator. Now it's at 0. 0. Awesome. So weird, but also acceptable. See how it's at 0 now? See how it's at 0? Oh yeah, look at that. Staying right there at 0. No, it's at 3 again. What the heck? It's so annoying. And it's only active when the flapperons have been treated as spoilerons, okay? So now we just have to fiddle with this to see what we can do to get it to work. See, that's not changing anything, is it? That's because I'm not in the setting. This is mix 4, so it's technically mix 4 is when I'm in the all the way down setting. Okay, so now we got -8. We'll go into mix 3. And we want to get that to say, dang it, sorry guys. Sorry. We want to get the 18 to, okay. So there's 0, 0, and -9. I don't know why this is being so difficult, but it's okay. Okay. See, and then it goes back to 3. It's like one or the other is always going to get its way. 3% is pretty small, though.
Yeah.
It's almost a deviation between 10 and 6, though. It's 4. But sometimes these things aren't exact. I'm just trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing wrong, because it would be nice to know for future reference. And plus, my wife really needs to know. She's got a model she's trying to figure out. Sorry, guys. That was just totally made out. She does not have a model at all. Okay, so we have spoilerons. Now, what's the drawback, guys? What is the real drawback here? Okay, so here's the drawback. Okay, elevator, ailerons, rudder, spoilers up, and no correction. So what's going to happen is when the spoilers are up and you're flying at like 50 miles an hour and you want to kind of slow it down, you wouldn't use spoilers. Spoilers are going to speed you up a little bit in the takeoff setting. And in the landing setting, it's going to basically make you fly down without using your elevator at all. It's really cool. So if you're doing crazy maneuvering, you can do that, which is fun. So in normal mode, you're going to have takeoff flaps and you have landing flaps. Ailerons. So as you roll the plane here, it's going to use that as an aileron. And when you roll the plane here, it's going to use that as an aileron, okay? But the key is, when you have flaps deployed, you're usually on final, and so you're coming into land. Well, that's not always true, by the way. So you can mix flaps to elevator in a programmable radio, which is really cool. And that's part of the reason why I wanted this plane to have flapperons, because when I pull up on that elevator, I want to be able to do crazy maneuvers where I'm practically flipping over on a dime without having thrust vectoring or anything weird like that. I just want the weird control surfaces that should exist on this plane. So, and I know why they didn't do it. You know why they didn't do it, camera crew?
Money.
No. No, actually, no. It would have been technically cheaper because you'd have had a straight cable instead of a Y cable. No, they did because they wanted to put safe on here.
Uh,
Yeah. So anyway, they wanted that to be safe equipped
Right.
right out of the box.
that makes sense.
So, all right, elevator to flap. I just want to see what this does because I've never actually done this mix. And I'm going to set this to only on switch C in the center. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. Look at that. So when I am in flaps, ooh, you see what happened there? See, only one side's working and one side's not. Oh, that's cool. No tie, okay? Ailerons. There's your tie. See that? That's bad. That thing stops acting.
Yeah, that's probably not a good one.
So that would be really bad. So in this case, because I'm not super concerned about that, I'm just going to eliminate that. But you can see how cool that would be if you were going to do that. I'm not going to do that because what I want is I want to be able to turn them on. And when you turn flaps on and you pull hard, it's going to cut the circle that would normally be taken up in maybe a third. So you can do some crazy maneuvers and then I just shut the flaps. I'm used to doing it. I fly it actively. That's just something I like to do. Okay, so that all being said, so what's the drawback? We were saying that like 10 minutes ago. The drawback is this, okay? We gotta turn on some throttle here, so don't freak out, hon. Okay, so we have to get AS3X working. Okay, that's why we did that. AS3X is working, okay? You see the rudder? Can they see it? You're gonna have to give them the camera crew, excuse me. Actually hold it from over here, because I can't move the plane and hold it. So you're gonna hold that and then just follow the plane. You see the rudder? You gotta be right on top of the plane, Megan. You see how it moves? Here, we'll just do it this way. See how it's countering the impact, the environmental impact. All right, here we go, guys. As I move the plane, see how it pulls away? It just follows whatever direction the environment's trying to act upon it, except the opposite, because it's trying to counter the input. So that's very easy to show on the rudder, except it's kind of hard to film, okay? So now the elevator does the same thing. The elevator you can film. Sorry, that's just hard to film. Okay, so you see the elevator? When I go up, it goes up. When I go down, it goes down. When I go up, it goes up. When I go up a lot, when I go down a lot, it goes down a lot. Here's the problem. Now watch the aileron. See this aileron? Watch it. It's gonna go up when I roll, and when I go down, it's gonna roll. Now watch this one. Do you see anything happening?
No.
Well, you can see this one clearly going up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So is this one going up and down?
No.
Exactly.
So you don't have AS3X on that aileron.
Unless I were to reprogram the receiver, which I don't care to do because these are redundant control surfaces, except for when you are in full flaps. Because then all of a sudden, this one does something and this one does nothing, which is not a big deal except if you want to roll because of the wind and you roll up, there's going to be no change in condition. If you roll up here, see, there's not much change anyway, guys. That's why I'm saying it's not a big impact, but it is an impact. Okay, so now that we've discussed all those things, let's see if we can overdrive the servos, because that would be kind of cool to know if we can do that. So that's one more thing I want to do. Okay, so that's all the way down. So the way to test is I can go to flaps. I might be able to go beyond. Nope, I can only go to 100. So the next thing you can do is go to Servo Setup. In this case, you have to actually be, okay, so I have my flaps fully deployed. So it's gonna lock my position in the upside. See, if I put that to neutral, then you can adjust both. I just want to adjust the down sweep, okay? So you notice where it is. I'm gonna click and then trim it down. Or I'm gonna actually go up on this number and I'm gonna bring the control surface down. Is it moving? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, cool.
Are they both moving?
See, I'm at 150% there. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen is this one's going to act at 150% of whatever you give it, okay? Which is cool. So now, see how the left aileron is at 0 and 150 on the top? Now I'm going to go to the right aileron, and I'm going to set my switch for flaps. And you see it's at plus 100. Now watch this. See I'm at 150? See how it stops?
Mm-hmm.
That would be AS3X acting, okay? So what that tells me is that I can't do that, which is okay. It's not really a big deal. But what happens is when you try to use these things to their full potential, you have to realize that AS3X is going to limit some of the features, which is unfortunate. So that being said, I have the throttle cut on. I have the flaps deployed. I have the landing flaps deployed. I hope my correction is the correct direction. This could be wrong. It could need to flip the other way. If it needs to flip the other way, it's no big deal. We have to change the 2 mixes and we have to change the flap mode, which is going to take us like 30 seconds. We could also just do no elevator correction. It's possible, but I doubt it, that this thing won't balloon when we deploy flaps, but I'm guessing it will. The other thing is, when we get ready to fly in the flap system, this is going to be potentially not enough for takeoff and potentially too much for landing. I highly doubt it. So we will find out together, and you're going to find out right now. Not right now. You're going to find out soon. Okay, so we got the flaps deployed. So now what we need to do is we're going to walk in here and we're going to set up one more mix. Okay, so this is going to be an aileron to rudder mix. And you're like, Brian, why are you going to do that? It's a jet. You don't do that in a jet. You don't have coordinated turns in a jet. Well, first of all, you could, but I would prefer to coordinate my turns. I agree. I don't want sloppy barrel rolls and things like this. So what I want though is when I have full flapperon deployment, I lose aileron authority because they're doing other things at the time. They're busy. They're like, hey, I'm sticking down here. I can't go up and down. Tell me what you want. It's just like that, you know. So what we have to do is we have to roll in here and we're going to set up an aileron to rudder mix. So if some schlub is like, hey, I want you to go up when you're down, then you can be like, okay, see what's going to happen? Nothing yet, okay? So now watch this. It's inhibited. I'm going to tie that to a condition that would be commensurate to flaps being deployed, i.e. this. Okay. So now, when they're deployed and I give it a command to roll left, this is going to stay down and this is going to help it. And when I give it a command to roll right, this is going to go up and this is going to stay down, which is going to attempt to roll it right, and this is going to help it. That's also going to, unfortunately, yaw the plane a little bit, but too bad, get over it. That's what happens when you want awesome mixes. So when you're coming in for your final, typically you want to kind of stay off of the ailerons anyway because you want your plane level and true, and you're going to bring it in and you're not doing a lot of this. You may have to do a little bit of it, or you might cross control, but in a flapperon configuration, hopefully we don't have to do a ton of that. Really what you're going to be doing is you're going to be riding the elevator like, give me more elevator, I don't have enough elevator to get it in now. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Which is the other thing that brings me to it. Because we're adding in the mandatory and necessary elevator correction, that I think we're actually going to need more than what we have in there. What I want to do is I just want to take a quick gander at what is going to happen with the elevator. Now, this plane flies really good, okay? Some would argue you don't need flaps. I would argue that you're wrong. So we can agree to disagree. I want you to look at these holes, camera crew. You see, we're already in the outside hole, okay? The outside hole, see? The outside hole. Mm-hmm. Now, where are we on this one? We're also on the outside hole. Interesting. So, what I could do is I could go to the inside hole, which would mean that when I push that stick out, it's going to move more. Right?
Yes. Definitely. I don't know.
I'm gonna find the world's smallest Chinese screwdriver. That one's not Chinese, it's Mexican.
You
That
have
one's,
way
Craftsman.
smaller screwdrivers than that.
Here's another Chinese screwdriver. Where's that little tiny blue one I had earlier? Did I mix that into my awesome kit? Okay, so I got a Chinese one and I got a Mexican one. This is the United States sold, Mexican built. Okay, we're gonna try that one first. I do like Craftsman a lot, actually. Ooh, tip, guys. When you do this, you're probably gonna screw up your elevator trim. So just be prepared, it's possible. I wanna take a little bit of note as to whether or not this is flush. And it is flush. And is this flush? It is flush-ish, okay? So what I wanna do is I wanna mark this right here, okay? And then I'm just gonna mark along the side of that control horn. You guys see what I just did there? It's pretty earth-shattering. Now we're gonna use the Chinese screwdriver, okay? All right, we got the Chinese screwdriver here. Pulled that out, no problem. Then we're gonna lift this off. We're gonna pop it out. And you're like, why are you popping it out, Brian? Well, that's true. Why am I doing that? I was doing that because I wanted to get this screw. Oh yeah, that's true. I do have to do that. See how hard it is to get out of there? And by the way, that's a Metal Gear Servo. Oh yeah, buddy, look at that metal. Beautiful. All right, so that would normally be there. So now the reason we did this is, camera crew, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to let me through. You see, I don't really have any good way of getting a screwdriver to that ball joint, okay? And that ball joint is attached with a screw, a single screw. So now I have to figure out a way to get my screwdriver into that hole, which is like gonna suck, okay? And not in a good way. Look at this. How the heck am I gonna do that? See? I can touch it, but I can't turn it. I gotta get the world's smallest freaking screwdriver.
But you can't move, you just move your screws.
Oh, sorry. It's just a dramatic effect.
I know.
All right, you can pause it and I will search for my screwdriver. That is a big screwdriver.
Well,
Seriously.
it's even smaller than the one I was thinking of.
What's going through your mind? This better work. Yes, it does work. Okay, so. All right, as you can see, I have to unscrew this screw, okay? How disappointing would that be if this screw light didn't come out? Look at the balls, see? Do you see the balls, hon? Next to the Chinese screwdriver?
Yes.
It's very short. Wow. This is like the world's smallest and crappiest screwdriver, and yet I need it.
Mm-hmm. You did.
I absolutely needed it. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm going into the inside hole. Oh, wow. Whew, that's good. It's good stuff right there. Wow. Whoa. I'm in it to win it there. Wow. It's going good. I've never actually done this before.
Seriously?
No, I've never actually adjusted. I've never had to do one of these ball joints from Horizon yet. I've had the ball joints a million times, but I've never actually had to take one off. Now, I believe that the ball joints are supposed to spin free. So you don't want to over tighten that too much, guys. See that? See how that spins free? I could be completely mistaken. I'm just gonna, who needs an elevator? According to Ian, it's Ian, okay? Ian, who needs an elevator anyway? Ian, if you're watching, I'd be very surprised. Don't worry, nobody died yet. And the ESH26 is awesome, by the way. Thank you for selling it to me. If you have any more, let me know. Ow!
I'm sure he's totally gonna contact you now.
Yeah, he will. He will. He will. Oh, that's such an inside joke. Nobody's gonna get it.
No, and you say it all the time.
It's all right. I think it's hilarious. Who needs an elevator? You know, really. A well-trimmed plane doesn't need an elevator. Says Ian. Listen, Ian is like 10 times the pilot I am. He's been flying for like 100 years longer than me. Maybe not quite 100 years. Maybe 75 years longer. And he's actually the real deal. He's like, no joke, really good. And anybody who can slope soar like that is a good pilot. Good pilot. Because you have to be a really good pilot to do that stuff. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna throw my airplane off of the mountainside, and I'm gonna do it with no motor and no elevator.
Good plan.
Yeah, not doing that. It's well trimmed. How did you trim it exactly? Get back to your plane! I gotta see elevator.
No, you don't have an elevator.
That's true. There's no elevator.
Are we gonna want you to do this again?
What? I wanted him to see how easy it was the second time around.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sorry. I just didn't know if there's going to be any good, hilarious things that come up.
Well, I mean...
Or is it kind of out of the bag? It's out of the bag, right? So, basically...
It's hard to see your tiny balls over here.
It's not my tiny balls. It's Horizon's. Jeez. Not on camera. Oh, dang it. Get out of the... You don't even have to pull the ball joint out now. You know, you didn't even have to take this off. I'm sorry, guys. That was my bad. You could have left that attached. Yeah, for reals. Yeah. Who needs an elevator anyway, you know? You might as well just take them off all your planes.
Mm-hmm. And send them to us.
No, you can keep them. We don't need your elevators. That was a gaffe. Sorry. Camera crew's getting out of line now. We don't need any more elevators around here. Oh, that's cool. I did have somebody telling me that with a VTOL today. That's pretty good stuff. So in case you guys were wondering if I was a little pissy earlier about comments, it's because I've been working on it for 2 days straight, pretty much. But it's okay. I love comments. I love interacting with the audience. The thing I'm not crazy about sometimes is that it is a lot. I mean, it's just a lot. Even just saying thanks or, you know, whatever. Just a lot of stuff. A lot of time, but I like it. I love interacting with the audience, with you guys. It's cool. That's one of my favorite things about this. And when I get behind, it's bad.
Yeah.
We were behind last week because okay. So I need to show the people at home something. This is critical, camera crew. Don't distract me with your ball jokes. Okay? See that? No. I had to flip it to the other side for reals.
Okay.
You know why?
No.
I thought you knew all this stuff.
I just want to see if you know. I'm just testing you.
Yeah. It looks like that ball actually does go out one side and not the other. Okay, so it does actually matter. Dang it. What I was doing is I was flipping this down because I noticed that there was a certain amount of pressure being exerted. So I have to redo that side too. See, I knew there was a reason we kept these guys around. Anyways. I know, seriously. It's a good thing.
It's like enthralling and all, but...
You know what? Some people are just like, wow, I could watch this all day. So anyway, getting back to the point. So I did the comments for 2 days straight, and there was...
Like literally 2 days.
There was 2 days straight. Well, I mean, it wasn't like all day. It was like a very good chunk of the day. And it's been a crazy week. We got the hay taken on our property. And we don't know what we're doing.
Not at all.
We have new equipment that we're working through the manufacturer to resolve a couple of different issues with the topography here. And we want it to work good. We don't just want it to work.
There's a slight time difference.
Just 10.5 hours. No big deal. It'll be 11.5 during daylight. Okay, so we've got that one in. Now I need to see, is this still working? Oh yeah, it is. Ooh, yeah, that looks so much better on this side because I flipped it to the bottom. See this? It's putting pressure on it when it goes to the outside of the sweep. Okay, so that's what I was doing, guys. That's why I had you stick around. I knew there'd be some little minor detail, and then I'd have to explain it in the next video, and you'd be like, wait, pump the brakes, Brian. Can you photocopy that manual and send it to me? Sorry. The person who said that, I completely 100% forgive you, but no. I have, like, way too much going on in my life to do that. I would love to help you, but I'm too busy to photocopy manuals. I don't know if I have to actually take this off. I think I have to take that off.
You're gonna have to take something off
Yeah.
of your.
Why am I voluntarily using the crappiest, smallest screwdriver ever from China?
It's for extra fun.
It is kind of fun. It's like a challenge. See if you can make the really, 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 really small thing work. Okay, so I noticed that this one is boop, and this one is square. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to turn it halfway this way. Does that make sense? Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. She's cringing. She's cringing. Like, it hurts. But it doesn't.
I just have to keep filming when you break it and have to fix it.
Yeah, I know. Like, please don't break
Please
it.
don't break it.
Because I have better
wanna
things to
eat
do
dinner.
with my life than to film you fix the thing you just broke.
Yes.
To fix the plane that wasn't broke.
Yes.
Is that pretty much the way it goes?
Pretty much.
Did I hit all the bases?
Any base.
Get in there! Okay, it's in there. Whew, that was close. Wow, near miss, guys. Near miss. All right, it's on there. So now, I'm feeling it's a little bit down. I'm feeling it's not a little bit down. I'm feeling it's a little bit down. Meaning that this is not flush on the top and bottom. And this one is basically flush on the top and bottom.
When you put this one on, I feel like it's angled too much this way. You know?
Can you help me understand what you're talking about? You mean like it's too much that way?
Yeah.
Like, well, it moves, Megan.
No, I know. But for like the home position.
Oh, you mean like it needs to come back toward me? But one tooth is going to be way more. I'll show you what I'm talking about, but it's worth trying. Ooh. See? I mean, that would...
Is it like perfect now?
No, it's going up now.
Is it?
Yeah,
Shoot.
for real. It's going up right now. I think I got to probably put it back to that position. Yeah, it is close though. You're right. I mean, it's like really close. These are one of the nuances of setting up these planes. The problem is there's two elevators. If you get them to work, I mean, if one is off by 3%, your plane's going to roll when you pull back on the elevator. Okay? And I was literally watching a video today of this plane flying, and it was going up at a slight angle, and I don't know if it was me doing a bad job or maybe just kind of giving a little bit of aileron as I pull my right thumb down, and it was pulling up and away like that. Could have just been the way it started to stall. I don't know. So camera crew, you're not crazy. I'm so torn. I don't know if we leave it that way.
Is it enough that you can trim it now?
Can't trim this because
No.
they're tied together.
Oh,
That's what I'm trying to say. The trim
Okay,
would
I
happen
understand.
based on this.
right.
So what I have to do is I have to pull this off and like flip it over again. Let's do that. Let's see if that gets us. That might get us what we need. So I'm gonna go in the hole more. Okay, like this. And I take. No, I can't do that because then that puts the hook on the wrong
The
side.
wrong side.
Dang it. So it's either that or there. I think you're right. I think we have to go your route. See? No. Too much. We gotta go there. That's as good as we're gonna get it. That sucks, guys, because there's like a discrete adjustment and I need just a little bit more adjustment. The way you could do it though is if you wanted to, I could take and fold this and that would give us our tiny, teeny fractional amount of adjustment. Do you know what I mean? Like you would literally bend this very slightly.
But that
It
would
doesn't
be
change
too
the
much.
geometry. It doesn't change the geometry. Trust me, it doesn't. Not as much as you think it will. What it's gonna do is it's gonna change where the start position is. Okay? So what you can do is you can take this off. I'm actually gonna mark it just so it's really easy to tell where I wanna bend it. So I'm gonna do this, guys. If you haven't ever had to do this, this is kind of one of those things you hope you don't have to, but every once in a while you run into a situation where you want to. Okay? So I'm gonna hold this here. And just because I don't have two needle nose pliers here, I'm gonna grab this crescent and just open it up. And I'm gonna hold on to the other side and brace the steel. And then I'm just gonna bend it just barely. You see how I bent that? Did it even bend?
Yeah.
See, it bent just barely. That's gonna give you your fine-tune adjustment. I don't like doing it that way. I'd rather not do it that way. But yep, now I feel like it's really, really close. It's really close. I feel like we can do that now. Okay, it probably didn't make a huge difference, but I feel better.
Whatever makes you feel better.
I agree. So the other thing too is if I really wanted, because remember the whole reason we did this, what was that, camera crew?
Extra fun.
No.
No, more throw on the elevator.
Yeah. Why do we need more throw on the elevator?
So you have more authority. When you mix it with
Why do we need more
flaps.
authority?
Because you don't want to crash.
Because when we deploy the flaps, it's going to necessarily change the pitch attitude of the plane.
Yes.
Once it changes the pitch of the plane, you have to correct it somehow, which means you're going to consume some of the throw of your elevator.
So you don't have as much. Yes, right.
Yeah. So now the other thing is there is another way to cheat in a little bit extra, and that is if you were to take, and we can try this. Let's show the people home. So now that we're done with this, so we have this tied. Okay, so this is what we did right before we shut off the film the first time. So we got the flaps. When they're fully deployed, the aileron is going to tie to the rudder. You're still going to get full rudder, okay? See how it's all the way over. That's as far as it'll go. Same thing. See, it doesn't change at all with the ailerons. But if you have no ailerons, or if you have no rudder input, keep in mind, with full landing flaps, that means that your rudder is going to also be moving the steerable nose gear. So just be aware of that, unless you put in a different radio system, in which case you'd have to fight all these problems because you would have an independent channel for each control surface. My camera loves this stuff. She can't get enough of that. So now what's the other thing? Oh, so we were going to see if we could go into servo setup, travel. Under travel, let's go to elevator. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click while it's in neutral. And I'm going to go like way up, okay? So now watch what happens. So there's up, there's down, okay? So now I'm going to set it to normal. There's up, not moving. Don't fret yet. Oops. Not moving. So what that tells me is we cannot overdrive the elevator servos because the servos have been configured as such. They either have a mechanical stop block that they hit, or they have some programming in there. And when I say programming, I mean on this device. They have the trim pot, the potentiometer set to go so far, and whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure. You have to ask Horizon on the control circuit. There is a control circuit inside that servo. This is going to be sweet. I cannot wait to see this. Now let's show the people on the end what the elevators look like. Yeah, see, they're not even. See this one? This one's up slightly, and that one is more neutral. I don't care about the position necessarily, but you see, like, there's all the way up, there's all the way down, but the neutral comes line up straight so they can see, like right there. See how this one just needs to come down just a hair, or this one needs to come up just a hair. I don't care which way, but I would say this one needs to go down, right? Is that the one we were fighting? So that one will need to come up.
Yes.
Flip it upside down. Out of the flaps, just so we don't break a servo. This is the reason that we do this stuff. We go into the tediousness is because you need to understand something when you get into this hobby. Is that there is a certain level of this tedious stuff that you have to do to have good performing planes. And if you don't want to do the tedious stuff, then you're going to get out to the airfield and you're going to be like, why does my plane fly like crap? And why do I not love it as much as Brian does? Well, because you didn't put as much effort into it, I guess. I don't know. My cameo, Esteban, is the case in point. He will never take the time to even name them in his radio system. I hope, Esteban, you're watching this.
It's okay, Esteban, we love you.
This. And then he gets out, he's like, hey, Brian, can you help me fix this? And I'm like, yeah, I would love to help you fix it when I can't fly. Not right now while I have an airplane with a battery in it.
Is the change big enough to actually lift the white control horn off and move it one tooth before you bend it again?
That's definitely worth checking, because I agree with you that it's worth checking, and I just did that. Now what Megan was saying is that the teeth on the servo, on the Metal Gear servo, there's so much room between each tooth. We moved it one tooth forward, and that might have squared it up. Oh boy, it's slick, and there's not a lot of places to grab this plane. You know, it's like other things. It's slick, and there's not a lot of things to grab, so you just, you grab what you can. Get a handful, and you enjoy it. See? There we go. That looks a lot better. Good answer. See, feel it. That one's down just a hair, and this one's down not very much. So really, the reason I'm using this as my alignment point, that's actually a bad alignment point. It should be out here.
Yeah, it's better though.
But it's so hard to tell because they have that anhedral on it. Mm-hmm. Honey, what's anhedral?
Down. Attitude.
Not attitude, but just down.
Well.
Show them from this side. So you see, because of the anhedral on these wings, it changes kind of the way that it lines up with this because these were actually glued on by yours truly. And it's possible that they're maybe not 100% absolutely perfect. They're pretty close, but they're not maybe perfect. But you see what I'm talking about? This goes down just a hair. This one goes pretty even, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. But,
okay. So if this goes down slightly and this one doesn't, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can flip back to the other side. These are the types of things that you have to figure out. And we like to share your experience. This is so awesome. So remember, this needs to actually be going down, right? Or is that one? Which one was level? Dang it. It was this
that one was level because you flipped it that way. So this is
this one's down. This one's down. They look pretty dang similar over here.
It's not a huge
I think we're done.
difference.
Okay, now, how do you fix the asymmetry if there is asymmetry from here, camera crew? If you're flying, how do you fix it?
While you're flying?
Yes.
Ooh.
With the ailerons. Which is unfortunate because you're going to chew up efficiency. I mean, it's going to be of minimal consequence. I mean, this isn't like a $20 million real plane. Although I don't know how much an F-16 costs. It's probably a lot more than 20 million. 120 million? 220 million? I don't know what they cost. They're a lot. They're more than I have. So, anyway, there's that. There's that. And if you want to do a mechanical trim later to follow up, good luck. Okay. Landing gear. Oh, yeah. These landing gear are phenomenal, by the way. They have stood up to many, many bad landings. And when I say many, I mean like 6. But really, most of them are pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Today I finally got one in the wind, and it was like this. Oh, it's gonna fall over, it's gonna fall over. And it's just perfect. But we didn't film it.
Of course.
It was awesome.
That's how it works.
So good. All right, guys, let's give them one more shot of the Flapperons in full action. Shoot it from the rear there. Oh yeah, that is so cool. Flaps, flaps. Now, spoilerons. Let's make sure they're going the right way here real quick. You'll notice there's no elevator correction on the spoilerons or of minimal consequence. That's gonna roll the plane that way. That's gonna roll the plane that way. Can you see that? You still are losing the authority from the ailerons, but you're gonna lose less of it in the spoileron configuration, I'm just saying. So, we still have the tie in the more extreme landing setting, okay? Flapperons, spoilerons. Flapperons, spoilerons. Pretty cool, guys. All right, that's all you get for tonight. Like I said earlier, here it comes right now.